Imagine a world without cars, a time when only the richest people could afford an automobile, while most still relied on horses and wagons to get around. In the early 20th century, a car was a status symbol. Handmade with expensive materials and slow production, automobiles were out of reach for most people. But that was about to change. In this scenario, a car emerged that would transform the automotive industry forever. A model that took cars out of the hands of the elite and made them accessible to millions of people. That car was the Ford Model T. More than just a vehicle, the Model T was responsible for creating the concept of the affordable car. It changed the way factories produced consumer goods and helped shape the modern world as we know it. Today, we're going to tell the story of the car that put humanity on wheels. The Ford Model T, the invention that revolutionized mobility and the industry. In the early 20th century, anyone who wanted to travel to another city had to endure long distances on dirt roads, facing discomfort and slow journeys on wagons and horses. While the elite cruised around in their luxurious automobiles, one man saw things differently. Henry Ford didn't just want to build cars, he wanted to transform the way people moved. His idea was simple but revolutionary: to create a car that was affordable for everyone. A reliable, cheap, and easy-to-drive vehicle that could be bought not just by the wealthy but also by everyday workers. With this vision, in 1908, the world was introduced to the Ford Model T. On October 1, 1908, Ford unveiled the Model T, a car designed to be simple, affordable, and durable. Unlike the luxury automobiles of the time, the Model T wasn't a car for the elite. It was designed to be a practical vehicle that anyone could afford and drive. Its 2.9-liter, four-cylinder engine produced 20 horsepower, a modest performance by today's standards but impressive for its time. It was tough enough to handle the dirt and mud roads of the United States, a crucial factor in winning over the public. Plus, the car had a crucial advantage: it was easy to fix. With interchangeable parts and a simple design, even an average owner could handle minor repairs without needing a specialized mechanic. But despite its potential, the Model T still had one problem: it was still too expensive for most people. That's when Henry Ford came up with an idea that would revolutionize the automotive industry and the entire global economy, transforming car production. And with that, the Model T would become the car that put the world on wheels. The innovation that changed everything: the assembly line. At first, even with the Model T's simple design, car manufacturing was still a slow and expensive process. Like other automobiles of the time, it was built by hand, with workers manually fitting each part together. The problem? This method was inefficient. Each car took about 12 hours to assemble, which limited production and kept prices high. That's when Henry Ford made a decision that would change not just the automotive industry but the entire global economy. In 1913, he introduced the moving assembly line. Instead of workers moving around to build the car, the parts moved along a conveyor belt, with each worker responsible for installing a specific component. This process drastically reduced the time it took to assemble a Model T. What used to take 12 hours was now done in just 93 minutes. With faster production, manufacturing costs dropped drastically. In 1909, the Model T cost 8 to 5, a high price for the average worker. But with the assembly line, the price dropped to $260 by 1925, making it the most affordable car in the world. The result? Millions of people were able to buy a car for the first time in history. Automobiles were no longer just a luxury, they became an essential part of everyday life. But the impact of this innovation didn't stop there. The assembly line didn't just revolutionize Ford. It became the standard production model for major industries around the world. The Ford Model T wasn't just a car, it was the engine of a social and economic revolution. Before it, only the wealthy could afford an automobile. But suddenly, anyone with an average salary could buy a car and change their life. Farmers could travel to sell their products. Workers could live farther from their jobs and commute faster, and long, exhausting trips became easier and more accessible. With more cars on the streets, cities began to change. Dirt roads, once good enough for wagons and horses, had to be paved. The demand for fuel led to the creation of gas stations across the country. On top of that, the success of the Model T created new jobs and new businesses. Tire companies, repair shops, dealerships, and insurance providers all grew around the new automotive culture. In no time, cars went from being a luxury to an essential part of modern life. And it all started with the Ford Model T and Henry Ford's vision. For nearly 2 decades, the Ford Model T ruled the roads worldwide. It was the first car for millions of people and helped transform society. But like any innovation, it had an expiration date. By the late 1920s, competition started to grow. Other automakers began offering more modern cars with updated designs, more powerful engines, and greater comfort. Meanwhile, the Model T remained virtually unchanged. Henry Ford resisted the idea of altering his most successful car, but eventually, he realized it was time to move on. On May 26, 1927, after more than 15 million units sold, Ford officially ended Model T production. But its legacy never faded. The assembly line revolutionized the industry, making products more affordable for people all over the world. Its impact was so great that even today, cars are still built using the same concept. The Ford Model T wasn't just a car, it was the vehicle that put the world on wheels and changed the way we live forever. Before the Ford Model T, cars were a luxury reserved for the few. After it, they became an affordable necessity for millions. Henry Ford didn't just create a popular car, he revolutionized the way products are made. The introduction of the assembly line forever changed not just the automotive industry but every industry in the world. If you have a car in your garage today, you can thank the model that started it all. Did you already know this story? Drop a comment. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more content about car history. See you in the next video.